Pro football, I probably have a better chance
in the 40s for sure.
Safety, late 38, me on the Illini.
Dick Night Train Lane would have fucking decapitated you, though.
He would have killed me.
Well, today, Naismith, 130 years ago today, Naismith gifted us this great game. Basketball, the association, it's grown to be. How many years back would Ryen Russillo have to go to make an NBA roster? Like, what year would it be?
Probably the 40s.
You think the 40s?
Yeah, I think if you drop me into the 40s right now, you just start dribbling and you start posting guys up. And, although they had the Cagers, I think, in the 20s, and those guys used to beat the shit out of each other. It was like old New York City Jewish basketball.
I think we used to do a thing where we used to look up like 40s basketball players way back in the day when I was on your podcast. So the 40s, Ryan, you play in the 40s.
I think I could play in the 40s. Yeah. I mean, we used to do this on the radio show. Van Pelt was beside himself with this thought. I was like, you don't think that there's some date and time where I could get into a time machine and just get out and start playing?
Yes.
There's not. Of course, there's a date.
If you could play pro football at one point. No.
Pro football, I probably have a better chance.
In the 40s, for sure.
Safety, late 38. Me on the Illini.
Dick Night Train Lane would have fucking decapitated you, though.
He would have killed me.
Like, no question.
I think there's some stuff. What if I did a fucking zone read in 1938? Guys would have been like, who the fuck is this guy? Like,
guys, you would have been one of the most jacked guys on the fucking field. Hit modern nutrition. This guy worked out at the Equinox. If you walked fucking Chuck Bednarik into an Equinox, his head would explode.
I think about this stuff all the time because I love reading about the history of boxing. Like, if I watch John L. Sullivan in my head, because you can't see it, there's no footage, but he's like the first real heavyweight world title holder, guy from Boston. I know John Sullivan. Used to drink a ton, used to get shit-faced all the time.
Whole thing checks out.
Right. And then he fell off the back of a train. They thought he was dead and he was hanging off of the back of it and was like, I'm fine. And then he'd always quit. He would have like massive benders and he would say he was done and no one ever believed him. And then just one day he stopped drinking altogether. But he would go and fuck people up in these bare knuckles things. And then I go, okay, but what would happen if like I decided to box at 230, knowing that I wasn't going to just stand there with like, the Duke of fucking Luxembourg with your fists out underneath and just kind of like doing this weird underhanded jab.
Could you beat up either of the Paul brothers? Because that's the burning question. I think you might be next.
I'm not going to say that. I have too much respect for the amount of work that they put in. If they're conditioning and that kind of shit, they're conditioning, and the fact that they actually can throw some combinations. They would kick so many guys' asses that it's not even debatable.
Well, here's the problem. One of them, right, is a really good wrestler.
Yeah, well, I thought they both wrestled. I don't know what their
so they both are. So because usually if a guy can box, you're like, well, what if we took the gloves off? But these guys.
And by the way, if you're a good wrestler, that means you've gotten your mind tuned to a way where the pain and the hurt and the fucking I don't want to do this anymore. You've surpassed that. You've been able to fight through that mentally. So those aren't guys you usually want to fucking.
Yeah,
fight.
And they're dangerous because they got nothing to lose. Like they're quote unquote YouTubers, or one of them is, right? I'm totally confused with this whole thing.
No, they were. I mean, look, if you have the Bama Bangs and you're a teenager and you're doing stupid fucking videos with Mentos and soda,
didn't they get kicked out of the Suicide Force in Japan at one point?
Well, yeah.
How do you go from the Suicide Force to what a glow up? Like
people move on from shit, as bad as that was, but nobody wants to admit it. And I just think it's so funny, the timeline of events with every one of these fights. It's like, oh, these idiots. I hate these guys. YouTube shitheads with all their cars. Fuck these guys.
No, they finally earned their,
And guess what? Then they beat the shit out of somebody. And then all of a sudden it pivots. Like, remember the Nate Robinson thing? Nate Robinson's going to crush him. And then as soon as Nate gets work, it's, oh, well, that's not fair because Nate doesn't know how to fight. So
no question. But they're hand picking their guys. Like they're gonna next thing they're gonna call the Masvidal and that sort of thing, who's scary as fuck. But they're not calling any boxers. Just call a box. That
Tommy Fury's a boxer, isn't he? Or he's also on a reality TV show.
I think Tommy Fury's he's a bachorette looking motherfucker. Like Tommy Fury, he's too good looking to get to beat up one of the Paul brothers. Do you remember that when he came out in the ring? I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Got perfect hair.
Oh no, he's a good looking cat.
Yeah, dude, good for him.
Yeah. By the way, for the record, I don't think I could get a time machine and beat up John L. Sullivan. I do think that I could get into a time machine and maybe hit Noodles Hahn. You know, if I were by, you know, Fenway Park, 1921.
Noodles Hahn.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you enjoy the video? I mean, if you didn't enjoy the video and you're here, like, I don't know what to tell you. Listen to the full podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast streaming platforms. Wherever you want to get the podcast, you can get the podcast. Pretty simple. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Podcasts get pretty wild. This is real tame.